This is the Gala Show. I'm your host, Gala Avery, and today I am joined by one of my very favorite guests and my father, Roger Avery.
Hi.
For those of you that are listening on our normal channel, which is just audio on Spotify or Apple or wherever you get your podcasts, you might not know, but today we have a video episode. Dad has been working really, really hard to set up the video, and I'm so happy, but Dad, we have video today.
I haven't been working that hard, but I've been trying to find a solution that would be highly mobile, that you could just carry around to your interviews, because you don't do your interviews commonly in a studio like we are right now. You do your interviews when you're out and about, right?
Yeah, I'm really lucky. I get to go to my guests' homes usually. And so we've been thinking about incorporating video both into like the Gala Show and onto Video Archives podcast. So if you're listening right now and you want to watch Dad and I discuss my 2024 Wrapped, head on over to, I think on Spotify, the video should be uploaded, but we also have a YouTube channel for Video Archives where all the episodes of the Gala Show go. And so that is
Video Archives. Or maybe even be Video Archives
it's
podcast.
Like YouTube at Video Archives. Like that's how it is. And of course, I'm also going to link this on Patreon just so you guys can see we're doing it. And we even have a wide shot, which there's nothing on my walls.
It's not really a very good wide shot.
Nothing. Yeah, there's nothing really on my walls.
But here's the thing. I wanted to build a highly, highly mobile system, but I also wanted to build a cheap system because, money don't grow on trees. And I started looking at cameras and I have my, my various cameras, and they just all the setup seemed too complicated and too cumbersome, and for you to take with you. And so then I discovered the wonderful world of conference room webcams, and with 360 gimbals on them, and that's where this came in.
And honestly, it seems to be working. So today
it's like $149 for the for the single camera, and you can scale up. You can do multiple cameras, and so it's just an experiment.
Yeah, so you guys bear with us as we are learning the art of video, but also if you like it, let me know, because it is something that a lot of people asked for. I think last year when I was doing my last year roundup and my season 1 roundup, a lot of people asked me, "Oh, add video." And it's kind of something I was nervous to add, but Dad is backing me, and so we're doing it.
Well, this company, XP Pen, they make like a little hotkey remote. And so
here's my little remote.
Yeah, so you're able to, you're able to handle it, operate it, plug it in, do everything super simply.
So today we are going to be talking about 2024 in general. And if you guys remember my 2023 wrap up, I talked about the movies that I watched in 2023 that were made in 2023, and then the movies that I just saw in 2023 that I really loved. And if you remember my 2023 wrap up, you may also remember my New Year's resolution, which was, in short, to touch grass, to kind of see more movies and to just do more things in my life.
You've been doing that. You've been doing it more than I have.
Well, I've been trying, but last year, I think I saw 530 different movies. And this year I'm clocking in around 230. So I definitely started doing more things in my life, which I'm really, really happy about. But I did still get to the movie theaters. And Dad saw a few of these too, which is kind of why I wanted to bring him on and talk about them.
I'm just here for moral support.
Well,
I'm just here to talk about the few movies that I really loved.
Well, let's start with one that we actually watched last night together, which I am going to rank. I have 4 movies in 2024 that I really, really loved. And I'm going to rank this one number 4. And I've seen it twice now. But that is M. Night Shyamalan's Trap.
Yeah, I love Trap. Trap was awesome.
Well, when I first went to go see it, I went with my friends Neil and Matt, and I think maybe Christina was there too. And we went to go see Trap, and we saw it at the AMC Burbank, and oh my God, it was like as if I was watching my dad and I go to a Carly Rae Jepsen concert.
Totally. We've gone to these concerts. I've taken you since you were little, and we've gone to a couple of them.
Well, I don't know if I was
clearly
little.
M. Night Shyamalan has had to do the same thing. And has taken, his daughter to, is it his daughter?
And his daughter is actually starring as
playing
the
pop star in the movie. She's great. She's a real pop star, obviously. A pop star in training.
She releases music under her name, but she's not Lady Raven in real life, but I like the character of Lady Raven.
This movie captured that kind of auditorium or stadium concert thing. exactly like it was, better than I've ever seen it captured in a movie. This is actually my favorite M. Night I was thinking about this earlier today. I was like, what is my favorite M. Night Shyamalan movie? And I've been really snarky about it because as an auteur, you know, you don't really consider that this is somebody who's like kind of consistently churning out really auteur work. And after a while you get jaded to it and you're like, well, I like this one and I don't like that one. But man, all of them are actually really good in their own way. And all of them have fans. But I kind of wasn't like a super big fan initially of his kind of run of post.
Yeah. And you missed Knock at the Cabin last year, which
I missed Knock at the Cabin.
Really enjoyed actually.
I have totally dug his kind of low budget. I call it low budget, but it's not really fair to say that.
So many people worked on this movie.
I know this is like a big production, but his kind of more taking his life back movies and creating his own multiverse.
Yeah, we were saying it's literally the M. Night multiverse because apparently Trap is supposed to take place in the same universe as like Unbroken and
yeah,
Split.
well, this is finally one of his villains that I can relate to.
Well, because when I first saw the movie, I've seen the trailers. So I knew that the movie was all about and this is not a spoiler because it was in the trailer, so I can only assume that the director intended people to know before. But it works if you know or if you don't know, because my mom and you did not know what the premise was.
Did not know.
But it's basically about this serial killer called the Butcher, who's been like on the run for like 7 or 9 years, and they haven't been able to catch him. But they've made a trap at this pop concert because they heard that he's going to be there.
Okay, when I saw the the previews for the movie, I thought, because I'm paranoid about these things because I've been to those concerts, I thought it was about going to one of those concerts and it's like, you know, an evil her name is Lady
Raven.
Lady Raven. So it's kind of like almost like a combination of Taylor Swift and Lady Gaga.
And also like Olivia Rodrigo.
Yeah, it's like a combination of these kind of I don't want to call them generic pop stars. It's not fair to say that. It just more produced, stars. And I thought the movie was about like them going there and that it's this evil cabal and that they're going to capture them and that you can't get out of the concert once you're in. I thought it was like this kind of supernatural thing. I had no idea that this was in his universe of killers, his crazy supervillain universe that he's come up with. I guess superhero universe as well, because Bruce Willis was a hero in that, in Unbreakable. But it takes place absolutely rooted in that reality, and it has that kind of the tone of those movies. And when I saw Split, I like Split, but I can't relate to the guy who's like the old lady every now and then and all of that stuff. But I could totally 100% from the beginning, Josh Hartnett, though he is, and they don't even they don't try to hide it really, almost instantly. Once they're in the concert, they kind of tilt their hand right away that he is the killer.
Well, it's as soon as he goes to the bathroom.
It's not the secret of the movie.
Yeah, as soon as he goes to the bathroom, my mom was like, what's going on there? Like, what's happening? Yeah. And then as soon as the awesome black guy who works in I love that guy. He was one of my favorite performances of the year. And that was a huge meme online. I don't know if you know.
No, I don't know that.
But that was a huge meme online where it's like, oh, you ever heard of the so-and-so? Apparently, this is a trap.
Well, as I'm watching the movie, I'm like rooting for Josh Hartnett, the mass murderer. Terrible. But he is, and I started thinking about that as a dynamic of what M. Night Shyamalan is doing, because he's basically made a movie where the cis white male, specifically, is suspect of being a mass murderer, behind the scenes, and the FBI is coming in, and I am absolutely not on the side of the FBI or the FBI profiler or any of that. I do not want them to catch him. I'm Josh Hartnett in this movie. Who else am I to identify with in this movie other than Josh Hartnett?
Well, one of my favorite parts of the movie,
he's a super dad. He's like, that's the thing. Dad of the year.
He's literally dad of the year. Like, his daughter's being bullied, and what that's like when your daughter's being ostracized by girls in school,
sure.
And he's doing something really nice for his daughter.
And he keeps running into that woman, that horrible Karen, who's
just as evil as her daughter.
She's the reason her daughter is evil. and how he's having to deal with her. It's like another parent. I've had to deal with that. I've had to deal with that exact same Karen with the crazy eyes and the curly hair.
But that's my favorite part almost about the movie is that he is dad of the year. Like,
Right up
despite
to the
him
end.
being
Right up to the end.
despite him being the butcher,
Yeah.
he's literally dad of the year.
He's holding it together
Even when
through-
he's so mad, he's like, I just love my family. It's great. And also seeing this, I saw it on the big screen and I saw it also on the little screen because we watched it at home the second time. And you know, my problem when I first saw it, which I wasn't sure if it was going to endure for me, was that on the big screen, after the concert, because I think that through the concert it's kind of like perfect. And then
I've never seen anybody capture a concert that exactly. Like the details were like beat by beat perfect. Like and it felt just like a wash of produced music that was as good as any of these pop stars. Or as bad
it
as,
felt
depending
like,
how you look at it.
Yeah, it felt like when you and I go to Carly Rae Jepsen and it just never ends.
Yeah, and you're the dad, and you're just trying to like, you're just trying to stay cool, and you're like Josh Hartnett, like you were once cool.
What does crispy mean? What does crispy mean? Oh no, don't say extra fried.
And he's messing with her in the way that a dad messes with his
The best part is when the
daughter.
floor opens and he's like, "Hey, we should go down there." I remember in the theater, I was like, "Oh my god, that's literally my dad."
Yeah.
But up and through the concert, I think it's kind of a perfect movie. And then when I was watching it in the theater, after that, it just got so ridiculous and so out of control that I was like, I don't know if this is going to endure. Okay, watching it on the smaller screen at home, that part doesn't bother me at all. I think it's like when it's blown up really big, it becomes more apparent.
Well, Josh Hartnett is giving a kind of arch performance, but it's because he's like a guy in this insane world and he's just trying to hold it all together throughout his day, just trying to keep everything in order.
Wow, they sure know a lot about that guy, don't they?
You know, I thought about this movie because I talked about on Brett Easton Ellis's podcast, Joker. And I was like...
The second one?
Yeah, the second, Joker 2. Joker Folie à Deux. The notion in Joker that I was expressing, or the thing that I was not concerned with, the thing that I was recognizing about the movie is that here's a film that is largely about, God, how do I describe this? Is it reflecting culture? Is it projecting culture? Is it programming culture? It's not whether the movie is bad. A lot of people have like, oh, I don't like it. It's bad. It's good. But why is it? You know, why is it happening this way? And what is it exactly saying? And now we've seen this Luigi
Mangione,
who allegedly shot. That's a good point. Who allegedly shot in the back the healthcare CEO, who was generally as a figure, as an archetype, kind of despised. Well, okay, we're actually watching Joker play out in real life now because the guy is being hailed as something of a hero, and no one's really missing that. I mean, his family is,
but you should see what's happening on Instagram. It's actually like, because for me, I don't know if he did it or not. That's up to the law.
It's irrelevant.
It's irrelevant, but someone did it. I don't know if it was him, but like the way that women in general are reacting to him is very strange to me.
But I bet it's like Joker.
It's exactly like Harley Quinn and Joker.
You know, what we're basically seeing is that whether you liked Joker 2, Folie à Deux, or not, we're actually watching it play out in public. And the question is it cultural programming? Is it, you know, is it designed? Is Hollywood doing this to us? Or is it commenting? I mean, I happen to think it's commenting. Now, the same is true of Trap with Josh Hartnett. You know, here's a movie that is basically kind of making all these expressions about white men. I mean, you know, being the kind of almost diabolical serial killer villains. And on the surface, you know, looking like Superdad, you know, and that is, I mean, making a statement. It's making a very strong statement, and which is exactly what an auteur filmmaker does. He brings a powerful perspective and point of view, and I think if anything, there's a lot to unpack in Trap. It's a much more serious movie than I think anybody gives it credit for. As a genre film, it's really, truly doing what genre films are supposed to do, which is it's examining culture. It's unpacking culture.
I mean, I feel the exact same way, and a lot of people really dragged Trap. Like, they dragged it, and they were like, this is not good. People could not just, like, have fun and disengage, like, in the movie. I think Trap, there is a lot to unpack. And speaking about Joker 2, because Joker 2 is not on my list, but I did not hate it as much as everyone else did. I think a lot of people just like took it as a punching bag this year. There's a lot of worse things that came out, in my opinion, than Joker 2.
I mean, look, it's a movie that's impeccably produced. It is, whether you like the vision or not, whether you agree with the grading of the music or not, whether you were entertained or not, whether you feel that is entertainment or not, whether you gauge it against the cost of making it versus your ticket price, like all of these factors that kind of come into play. I mean, it's actually a very powerful movie. No matter how you feel about it, I think it's a super powerful movie, and it's super well produced. And there's a lot that it's saying and that it's trying to say, and that deserves the attention that, it deserves. They both deserve attention.
Well, for me, though, I'm going to put another movie that is not on my list and I actually disliked, and I'm going to put it in the same camp as Joker 2 right now, which is The Substance, which a lot of people are like, oh my God, Golly, you didn't like The Substance? That was the best movie of the year for you personally. But
it may be the best Cronenberg movie that Cronenberg's not making anymore.
I don't know.
I haven't seen The Substance.
But let me tell you, the thing is that the reason why I'm going to put Joker 2 and The Substance together is that they're both movies that I did not really enjoy, but I appreciate that they went for it. Mm-hmm. Because like Joker 2, what did he do? He had all that money and he made a huge musical, which I wouldn't consider it a musical. It's just a movie with music, because the music isn't catchy and there's not enough of it. And The Substance, what did she do? After her first movie, she basically got carte blanche. She was given all these scripts by the studios, like, make this, make this, make this. And she just said, no, why don't I go make my own thing? And so she went with their money. And when they saw the director, she went with their money.
With the studio's
money, made her movie in France. When they saw what she did, they said, oh my God, are you kidding me? We can't put this out. And they put it into Turnaround. And I think it got picked up by like Hulu or something. Mm-hmm. And it got a wide release and people really, really loved it. And so I have to applaud her for just doing what she wanted to do with the movie.
She's French?
She's French.
Who's the director?
I think her name is Caroline Farget. Mm-hmm. But she just went for it. And I didn't like it.
Well, she's French. The French tend to go for it.
It's the most like... It's a movie all about LA by someone who feels like they've never been to Los Angeles.
Well, and that's actually okay. Like Philippe Rousselot, the guy who shot, River Runs Through It. I think he shot the American landscape better than like most people because he's an outsider.
Yeah, but for me, it's as if Los Angeles was Miami. Like it plays as Miami. It doesn't play as LA. But I don't want to talk about The Substance because a lot of people...
That's her LA, her version of LA.
A lot of people really loved it. And
I don't even know that LA is LA anymore.
Oh, stop it. Let's not get into that right now.
Okay,
that's a whole other thing.
Fine.
My next movie on the list, I think you also really, really loved, which is The Beekeeper.
Oh, yeah,
and I saw this back in
I've been
January.
talking about The Beekeeper. I've been talking about it to everyone who'll listen.
Yeah, but I saw it back in January. I took my mom to go see it, and I kind of like blind took her to go see the movie. And she's like, oh my God, we're going to go see the new Jason Statham movie. And we don't have to talk too much about this because you and I actually already did it in a whole episode.
Yeah, we've already done it. And I've already also talked about how that movie also is a movie making all sorts of statements, cultural statements, a movie about... Jason, I can't believe this is the plot, but Jason Statham's character is a top level beekeeper is what they call them for the US government. And their job is when the figurehead of power, when the president, supposedly the president or the people in positions of power begin abusing their power, like a bee who must kill the queen. The queen, you have to kill the queen. Well, they kind of make it seem as though it's Hillary Clinton is the queen bee as president, and that the movie is about Jason Statham, who must kill Hillary Clinton because her child Hunter Biden, who is running like Google with an Eric Schmidt kind of George Bush Senior like it's grabbing all of these cultural things and mashing it together into a big ball of paste. And I just think David Ayer has done an amazing thing, and he just takes all the DEI mandates that were given to him, like all the must do's that he's supposed to do, and he's just like, I will do those, and I will take more. Feed me more. You know, it's like, yeah, I love it.
For those that haven't seen the movie, this movie is so fun. There is so much action. I wish that you could see it again in theaters. I wish that you had come with us in theaters, because I remember I was like, oh, Dad, you should see The Beekeeper. Like,
telemarketers are the villains. Or, I mean, other than
the scammers.
Actually, the scammers at all levels are the villain. The scammers of the world are the villains. And I don't know. I just think it's a movie for me this year.
It was really great. It came out in January. It stuck with me. I rewatched it again at home. It was just as good. Okay, number 2 on my list is the one movie that you haven't seen, which is a Netflix original. And I interviewed the director.
I don't have Netflix.
We don't have Netflix, but I had the chance to interview the director, Greg Jardin, for my show. And because
you mean Greg Garden?
Well, his name has a J in it, Dad.
You mean like Jardin?
Stop it. Yeah, but Greg.
Then how come it's not like Grégoire Jardin?
Because he's not French.
He should go Grégoire.
He's not French.
Well, if he's going to go with Jardin.
This is besides the point. The movie is
Roger Avary.
The movie is called It's What's Inside. And this is like, there are rules of attraction moments in this movie. I even told you when I first saw it, I was like, oh my God, Dad, like, you have to see this because there's rules of attraction moments. But it's about this, like, it's not a bachelor party. It's like a wedding party. And 2 people are about to get married. And so they go away to a house. And when they're there kind of having their party, a figure from their past, this guy from their past shows up, and he has this briefcase. And he's like, let's play this game that I've invented. And in his invention, the game allows you to swap bodies with other people. And so they kind of play like a who's who in the house. And they play it several rounds. And what's so good...
It's a body swap movie?
It's a body swap movie.
It's body swap rules of attraction?
It's basically body swap rules of attraction with murder.
Sounds cool.
With murder.
Sounds good.
It is really, really...
Netflix will pick that up, but they won't do anything with me.
No, but Greg worked on this movie for like 8 years. Like,
yeah,
he was...
that sounds like me.
Like Greg was like developing this, and the use of Polaroid film, and like, like I love Polaroid, was so great. And the movie was it was so smartly written. It like preys on all your fears about social media, and it's like, who are you inside really? And like, it is what's inside that matters. It's not what's on the outside. And so the whole movie just has like this really great like cut and double entendre, and it's set up for a second one. So I'm hoping that Greg makes a follow-up to it. But I also got to get to know Greg a little bit, and we bonded over SX70 Polaroid cameras. So I have to give him a shout out, but it's not my top movie of the year. I think, Dad, you can know what my top movie of the year is.
Sonic 3?
Yeah.
Sonic 3?
Sonic 3 is the best movie this year. I don't care what anyone says.
Me.
That was not in
No, that's the game.
No, but Live and Learn. Da-na-na-na-na-na. That was in this one. And that's not a spoiler, you guys, because if you play the games, you know what the plot is, basically. The writers do such a great job with this. I have texted Josh Miller, who I also had the chance to interview way back when, and I told him, like, I hope you know what it means to me as a fan of the games that I have the best video game adaptation series that's out right now. Like, it's better than the Mario movies. It's better than...
Well, it has Jim Carrey. And Jim Carrey as...
Eggman, Dr. Robotnik.
Dr. Robotnik, the Eggman.
He hasn't really turned into Eggman just yet.
Well, and then you've got kind of dual Jim Carrey, because you've got Jim Carrey playing his father as well. Like, look, he may have come back to this because, this is his franchise and
he needs some cash.
Or it's just because he loves the franchise. I don't really care. I think he's so great and dynamic and fun to watch in the movie. In all of 3 movies.
Well, for me also, the other thing is okay, like, in the first movie, it was Sonic and Tails together, and the Tails voice actress is amazing as always. And I think that the gentleman that stepped up to play Sonic does a really good job of being Sonic. And then we have Knuckles in the second movie, and Idris Elba's voice, to me, not my favorite Knuckles. I'll be real. It's the one thing about the movies is that I'm not so into the Knuckles character.
Yeah, but now we have Shadow.
Okay, here's the deal. Keanu does such a faithful Shadow. He is not playing Keanu, which he could have just done.
No, he's acting. He's not just showing up and I am Keanu Reeves. I'm doing... No, he is coming and he is playing the Shadow character. I'll bet Keanu played Sonic.
Not only that, but
I'll bet he actually... Well, maybe not, but...
Well, I've seen
knows?
some interviews and that he like really studied the voice of the video game character.
He took it seriously.
And when you see him actually in the booth, like reading his lines, he's acting. And that is what it's supposed to be. Because like when I look at that, I don't see the actors behind the characters. I'm seeing the characters. And that's exactly what I want to do during a Sonic movie.
Well, remember when Michael Caine did Muppet Christmas Carol? He basically came out and said, I am going to play Scrooge as if this is a very serious movie. I'm going to do this as if it's like the Royal Shakespeare Company. And he comes in and he takes it seriously. He brings Scrooge as if he's not doing a Muppet movie. He's doing a Christmas Carol. It's amazing. It's an incredible performance. And I think Keanu Reeves kind of does that with Shadow.
I think Keanu does it with Shadow. And for me, it was such a special experience. We went on Solstice all together as a family. I cried, then laughed, then cried, then laughed. I had tears streaming down my face. I ate a whole plate of nachos. I love what these movies represent. I love that they are love letters to America. Sonic as the game, it was a Japanese game, but written all by American writers. Mm-hmm. And so that's why you have all this Americana in
people
it.
forget Sega was an American company.
Yeah.
It wasn't a Japanese company.
Yeah. And I didn't even know that.
Yeah, that's true.
Wow.
Yeah.
But it's one of the only like Japanese games that's written by Americans. And that's why it's like chili dogs and like small town America. And I just love the entire premise of the Sonic franchise, which is you protect your family and you protect your hometown and you don't have to go to a big place to do great things. You can do it right here. And so I really love that. I'm not going to give away the post-credit sequence because that like freaking blew my mind, the character that they introduced next, because I've been like screaming online for it. So I'm just so excited for the next one and I cannot wait to see it. The only other movie that I'm like looking forward to as much as Sonic 4 is the next Mission Impossible movie, which comes out, I think, in June next year. So we'll go for Mom's birthday.
Yeah, I don't know how much longer it can be sustained, the whole Mission Impossible
I think this is supposed to be the last
thing.
one.
But yeah, I've become used to getting my Mission Impossible movies, and I'll be sad when they're gone.
Okay, this is where my commercial break is going to go if I have one. So I think it's time for a commercial break.
And we're back.
So you guys, we are back, and I think it's time that we talk about the movies that I saw in 2024 that did not come out in 2024. And for this, I have my trusty cookie jar.
Oh, is this the trick-or-treat jar that we use?
This is my trick-or-treat
jar. So
jar.
people get to finally see it.
This is what we use during my question and answer. But Dad, I've written down the titles of the movies because I don't think about them.
Do I get to pick them out
You get
still?
to pick them out.
Okay.
In any particular order. You can put it on your lap if you want, or you can keep it right there.
Okay, I'm going to carry it with me.
I don't really think that these... Here, there you go. There's Dad in his cookie jar.
If only it had cookies.
If only it had cookies in it.
You should put a cookie in here for me at the very end.
Next time I'll put a cookie in there.
At the very bottom should be a cookie.
So I had watched all these movies for various reasons in 2024, and I didn't want to rank them just because I thought I had such a great time watching all of them. So that's why Dad's going to pull them out of the jar. So Dad, why don't you go ahead and pull out the first one?
Okay. Oh, Looker from 1981, Michael Crichton.
And we even have my Looker tape.
Yeah.
And I picked this tape up, actually.
With James Coburn and Albert Finney. This is such a good movie.
Yeah, this was actually kind of a gift from Chris. at There Are Too Many Movies, because when I was filming my episode with them, they took me to the Texas Theater, which has the Dallas VHS swap inside of it. And around October, they do this pop-up where you can kind of go upstairs. Maybe it's year round now, but I know they do it in October time. And we went up there and they have all these really cool VHS tapes, and you can like look around and you can see, and they're all kind of like the employees and volunteers have brought them in, but in the back wall they have like a tape section and you can buy tapes, and it's a haggle, like, so you just like pay what you think they're worth. And anyone who knows me knows I can't haggle. So Chris was nice enough where he just took all 3 tapes that I wanted and he went up and he haggled for them.
Like Looker must have been really expensive.
It was.
It's such a good movie.
You know what? It should have been more expensive, but it was 50 cents. Yeah. But I think it was marked for $1. So thanks, Chris. Shout out to you.
This movie has such great ideas in it. And Albert Finney drives the best Porsche one can drive. Like, the one that I liked in that time period. I just thought that was such a cool looking car. Not the one with the pop-up lights, but the one with the kind of rotate up lights. And all the, and Susan Day is in it, and she's so beautiful and coming. This movie has such great science fiction, like 2 minutes in the future, 1 minute in the future
at this time,
of 1981.
At this time, it's science fact, because literally the idea of the movie is that all of these models are coming into this plastic surgeon with very precise changes. Like, oh, I want my nose shaved 1 millimeter. I need my eyelid raised 3 millimeters. I need my brow lowered by 1 millimeter. And he's like, what are you talking about? You're already beautiful. But it turns out over the course of the movie, you found out that they've all been working for this company that basically has been using AI to take a look at their faces and find out what's most pleasing about them and what will keep viewers looking at them.
What will make you perfect according to the algorithm. And
his whole thing is like, he is this plastic surgeon, but he's doing them because he's like, well, if I don't do them for them, they're going to get botched. And so I might as well do it. And then all of his clients start dying. And it's just so fun. And the weapon, you and Quentin, Dad, have talked about this weapon ad nauseum.
Yeah.
And you guys described it as a gun that can like go around corners, right?
No, that's from his other movie, Runaway.
Okay, well, I need to see Runaway also.
Okay, the movie he did after this, which I don't like as much, but I'm sure it deserves a reviewing, is Runaway with Tom Selleck, where he plays a cop, and again, 15 minutes in that point in the future, and they have these bullets that can kind of run around corners, that can shoot around a corner, and things like that. It's not just line of sight.
But I love the
and
weapon.
little bug-like robots that will hunt you down and kill you, and all sorts of weird things. Weird at the time.
Yeah, I love the weapon in Looker though, that like, because he's in the facility and it's
and then suddenly like 20 minutes have passed and you just kind of like, what just happened?
Yeah, and you're like, where am I?
It's great. And he visually gets that across really well on film. He makes it really entertaining and fun.
Yeah. I mean, Michael Crichton, I think, is honestly one of my favorite directors. Like, when I think of his other movies, I think of Coma, I think of Westworld, and I cannot wait to watch his train robbery movie. I can't believe I haven't seen it yet.
Oh, he was big on Great Train Robbery.
Yeah, so I cannot wait to see it. But this was definitely one of the highlights. You guys know
you should watch ER, his TV show.
Did he do
Yeah, he and John Wells, because he was a doctor in real life, and like a brilliant doctor and researcher and all of that. And he used all of that, to do Andromeda Strain, for example. And
oh God!
When he wrote
Andromeda Strain,
when he wrote it, I know it's that monkey.
It's like one of my nightmares.
You still have flashbacks about that monkey.
It's like the monkey thing. I hate
I like how Robert Wise, the director, is like, that monkey was the best treated monkey. That monkey was fine. That monkey lived the best life. He was laughing all the time. It's a movie. That monkey was acting.
Well, I can't wait to see it. I can't wait to see all of his stuff. But Michael Crichton is just, in my opinion, one of the geniuses of our time with science fiction writing. And as everyone knows, if you follow my Instagram, I do like a kind of like voting for like when I watch movies, because I'll just go buy tapes and I'll buy like really cheap $1, $2 tapes, and then I'll just put them on. So thank you to the people that voted for Looker, because like I had been trying to get it watched. And if you're listening to this, please vote for Motherlode with Charlton Heston, because I have been trying to get that watched for like 6 months and no one votes for it. But
his novel for Airframe, I think is what it was called, it prevented me from flying actually for a couple of years.
Wow.
I was like, screw that.
Wow.
Like, because Michael Crichton sees into the future, obviously.
Obviously.
And so that book was that was one of his most, I think, for me, one of his most terrifying books. Your next one, Slaughterhouse-Five, Slaughterhouse-Five.
Yes, Dad.
1972 by one of my very favorite directors, George Roy Hill.
Yeah, Dad had me watch this movie towards the beginning of the year. And I personally, if I'm playing the fantasy game at home, which apparently I am doing of perfect double features, I would double feature this with Somewhere in Time. I think this is just a magnificent movie. The storytelling is so good. I've never read the book. Dad, did you read the book?
Yes.
Is it very close to the book?
Yeah. I mean, the thing about the book is Vonnegut is one of my favorite writers, and Cat's Cradle is my favorite book of his. But Slaughterhouse-Five is a very special book for Vonnegut, and true Vonnegut aficionados or people who really know Vonnegut will probably be able to speak to this much better than I can. But Vonnegut was a prisoner of war during World War II, and he was held in Dresden. And during the attacks on Dresden, which famously firebombed and leveled the city, and just absolutely true horror of war, like the black and white imagery we see of horrors of, like the aftermaths of war frequently are of Dresden, just complete and total annihilation of everything. But he, as a prisoner of war, was taken down and put into, because he was in a work detail camp, and he was taken and put into the slaughterhouse basement during the attack with, it was being used as a shelter, and everybody was killed. And afterwards, they emerge out to just dead bodies everywhere. And the work detail, these prisoners of war, were the ones who were basically meant to go clean it up and to pick out the pieces of bodies out of people's homes and to help kind of clean up Dresden. And Vonnegut describes it, and I'm trying to remember where I read it. I think it was an article he wrote in a magazine, and I'm trying to remember, the magazine could have been, New York Times Magazine or something like that, where he writes about the account. And his telling of the account of cleaning up Dresden and, just cleaning up the body parts by hand is one of the scariest and most terrifying things I've ever read in my life. His actual personal, diary-like account of it. It's absolutely nightmarish. And he puts all of that into Slaughterhouse-Five, his novel, which is a science fiction novel. And which is about, it has aliens and time tripping, and yet what it's really about is trying to come to terms with the horrors that humanity foists upon itself, and hate, and how hatred manifests, and how sometimes you're marching towards a destiny. It's grappling with all sorts of things about the understanding of life. It's an existential novel. And the movie is just exactly that. And George Roy Hill, who is one of my favorite directors, is, I think, perfectly paired to make this movie. And it's not a perfect film. It has some kind of clunky parts of it, but it's kind of beautiful. And actually, you should talk a little bit about it.
There are movies that you watch and you're basically told by people you love to watch them. And so you do it because you love them and you want to be able to share an experience with them. But this was a very special movie that just kind of captured me in a way that it's like you just can't take your eyes off the screen. And one of the things I love so much about the movie is the editing and how the story unfolds, because you just, I don't know, you just fall into it. And it might be,
has a rhythm of a typewriter typing.
Yeah.
And I think he even uses a typewriter
he does.
at one point, but it's kind of like you're cutting like that.
Yeah, and it's also like, I kind of imagine, I know that there's like a science fiction alien part of this, but I kind of imagine this is what it is like at the end of your life, a little bit like how my mom has described her mother, like my grandma, and how she was time tripping at the end of her life. And I kind of imagine that this is exactly what it would feel like. And so it's very emotional and just like existential. And as Dad puts it, it's very also, it kind of takes this really terrible thing that happened in humanity and really kind of humanizes it from a a place.
And I really like it from the perspective that the Billy Pilgrim character, who is the lead guy, is kind of a non-character. He almost doesn't respond to people. He just kind of is there while everybody else is doing things around him. And it makes for a very fascinating narrative that I don't know is successful as an audience satisfying movie, but is novelistic in its design. It feels true to the novel.
I have a friend that I swap movies with kind of every year. Like we'll pick one and we'll give it to each other. And I haven't yet watched his, so I'm going to watch it probably tonight or tomorrow. But this was the movie that I handed to him for our swap because I think it's a classic movie that everyone should see and it makes me want to read the book. Now what's next?
Our next movie, it's the Thomas Crown Affair, the 1968 version, the original version of the Thomas Crown Affair, directed by another one of my favorite directors, Norman Jewison.
Okay, so you guys have probably heard the Video Archives podcast episode where we discuss this in full. So I'm not going to, super go into it, but I just have to defend the movie once more, take a stand, because I love this movie. And I don't even think that the ending is an incorrect ending. I think that the ending is really meaningful. It's a cat and mouse. Dad and I were talking last night about one of my very favorite video games, Sly Cooper, and the archetype within it, which is like the cop and robber thing, where it's like the investigator. It's Carmelita Fox and Sly. It's
right.
Like one of my.
She's the investigator who's supposed to catch the criminal, but there's a kind of love dance between them.
It's one of my absolute favorite archetypes, and I love it. And so you can listen to Dad, Quentin, and I discuss the Thomas Crown Affair in full over on Video Archives Podcast, also on Patreon, patreon.com/Video Archives Podcast. No, just Video Archives, patreon.com/Video Archives. But I won't get too much into it. The music is amazing. The editing is amazing. I love Norman Jewison. I was so excited to see it. I saw it on tape and I saw it on 16 millimeter over at Film Power. So it was just a really great experience and a really cool movie.
Yeah, with Steve McQueen.
And Steve McQueen is just...
It's hard to get cooler.
And Lady
Steve
Faye.
McQueen. Yeah, and
Lady Faye with her giant hair.
Yeah, I love her. That's why I put her in Rules of Attraction. Krull from 1983, directed by Peter Yates.
Okay, we just saw Krull. We saw Krull on Christmas, I think, actually. We did a Krull Christmas. And Krull was amazing because, as you guys know, Dad and I are huge Star Trek fans. And Dad and Mom had watched this like a little bit. And then they paused it and like Gala has to watch this with us. And my brother Ever too. And so we put it on and we're watching and I'm like, who is this actor? And Dad was like, I don't know. I don't really know if he's done anything else besides this movie wise. And so I started looking it up and I'm like, who is this? Oh my God, it's Eddington in Star Trek. And I could not believe it was Eddington with hair. And if you know Star Trek, you'll know Eddington from Deep Space Nine as like the agent, the security agent that evolves into a really amazing character.
Who's
with Cisco.
Also a Maquis character. Am I allowed to say that?
Yeah, you're allowed. I mean, I think it's been long enough with Star Trek that if you're spoiled by my Star Trek spoilers, sorry guys, but it's been long enough. You should have seen it by now. You know I'm going to spoil it, but he turns into a really great character piece with Cisco against Avery Brooks. And
do you know the actor's name?
No, I can't remember.
We only know him as
Eddington. But Eddington was the lead in Krull. I can't believe I'm just calling him by his character name. Who cares?
He's okay, so the thing about this movie Krull is when I was working at Video Archives, we had a customer. I don't even know if he was a customer. I don't know that he ever actually rented tapes from us. He was just this guy in a puffer jacket with a beard who would come in once a week with his tape of Krull, and he had bought Krull, but he didn't own a VCR. And maybe he didn't own a TV either. I don't know. He came in and he asked if he could watch it every time. And I was always working when he came in. And so he would come in, he would ask I'm like, yeah, sure. You want to see your favorite movie again? So I'd pop the movie on and it would play like in the background. And so I kind of never took Krull that seriously. And, at the time it was, I should have. It's totally up my alley, but it's a strange film. And in the moment, I didn't appreciate it as much as I truly appreciate it now. And what happened was my wife, your mom, Gretchen, she loves, like Starship Troopers,
Galaxy
and
Quest,
Galaxy Quest,
Conan the Barbarian,
Excalibur. Like she loves.
She loves like these kind of. She also like loves like reading high fantasy. So like Brandon Sanderson, like Wheel of Time,
and so it kind of falls on me to find these
Mists of
movies.
Avalon.
And I've got a stack of like movies that she can watch at any time. I can pop one of these on and she will watch it. And so I've got like a short stack of these. And I was thinking I got to add to this stack. And I thought about it and I was like, I haven't seen Krull like since, I don't know, 1980.
Since the video store.
Yeah, since like 1985 maybe, or 87, or like, whenever I stopped working at the video store, which actually I was probably hanging out there later, but whenever I stopped dealing with this guy in the puffer jacket, I just put Krull behind me.
until
I decided to get that and a bunch of other movies that I've been slowly like Warlock is another
which
one,
we'll be watching
with Julian
soon.
Sands. I bought all three of them, or I think there's only three. There might be
the
a
thing
fourth.
about Krull is when we put it on, like I was like immediately captured. It is a mix between science fiction and fantasy that I really love. Like the idea
it's
that
almost
aliens,
like a Dune universe.
yeah,
like,
and even the costumes,
it's
like
made
like
around the
Lynch's
time
Dune.
of Dune, around the time of Beastmaster, around the time of Conan, around the time of Excalibur. It's got all the talents. Like Liam Neeson has literally like come off of Excalibur and is now doing this almost a lateral move, and now he has like kind of, well, he had a pretty big part in Excalibur as one of the great knights of the round table. But having said that, he's like present here. It's like a whole thing.
And
it was a time period of this. And I was almost like, spoiled with my sword and sorcery.
Okay, so that's exactly how I felt about Looker. Because I was watching Looker and I was like, how is this not the biggest science fiction movie that has ever occurred? If this came out this year, this would have been like a sweep in the cinemas.
But in the 80s, I was spoiled
it's like you have so much
by this kind of genre material.
So watching Krull, it was just amazing because one, the costumes are amazing.
The sets are amazing.
The sets are amazing. And then also like you have this like really romantic story. It's a classic tale.
Legend. It's another one like similar to Legend. And it's almost like Ridley Scott saw Krull and took elements of it that he knew worked.
Yeah.
And improved upon them when he made Legend.
Well, the physicality of Eddington when he's scaling the mountains.
Oh, well,
that's
scaling
amazing.
The mountains of like Andalusia or wherever that was where they went
it's
to
like,
shoot
I think it's a little island off the coast of Spain, I think is like where they were doing a lot of the shooting.
It's like they found practical locations that look like, Sauron's eye
It's
in
amazing.
the side of a mountain. And like, they were doing location scouting in a time before the internet, like to find these amazing locations where you could do these shots that make something appear super dangerous. That is probably not as dangerous as we think. There's probably like, ground and crew right underneath him. Nets.
It doesn't matter though, because it's just the way they shoot. And like when he finally climbs the mountain, the sword glints.
Okay, now let's talk about Eddington a little bit more.
Yeah.
And I wish I knew this actor's name because he's very similar to Nigel Terry, the actor of Excalibur, who played Arthur, in that he's a great actor. He was a brilliant, great, up-and-coming British, like...
No, actually, Nigel Terry British?
Yeah,
Eddington's not British.
He's not British?
No, he's a New Yorker.
Is he really?
When I looked it up, it was like, oh, he's a New York actor, best known for blah, 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 Krull and playing Eddington on Deep Space Nine.
Well, he's actually fantastic in this.
He's amazing.
Watching it
and
again recently and then finishing watching it with you again recently, it kind of made me think that guy in the puffer jacket was onto something.
Oh, yeah, he definitely was because
he was seeing things.
And my favorite thing so like they have this really cool ragtag team that starts to form and it forms so naturally, but my favorite member is the Cyclops because they give the coolest Cyclops lore that I have ever seen. I don't think this is like actual Cyclops lore.
I've never heard this
lore.
The
lore of the Cyclops is that what do they call the evil people in Krull? Like
I don't know, but they're straight out of Fire and Ice. They may as well be like, they're like orcs almost.
Yeah.
But when you kill them, these like worm things, centipede worm things kind of climb out and they just kind of climb into the earth again. It's really cool.
It is really cool.
I mean, there's so much and so many ideas in the movie that are just really, really fun.
But the lore of the Cyclops is that the Cyclops made a deal with these evil aliens at one point that would allow them to see the future. But the aliens went back on their deal, and in exchange for their eye, only allowed them to see the time of their death.
Yeah.
And so
you see the future, but only the time of your death.
Only the time of your death.
The 5 minutes before your death.
And so the Cyclops are now their sworn enemies, and that they live their entire lives knowing the moment they're going to die.
That makes them kind of a sad race. And by the way, all the British actors that are there, Peter Yates, who's, magnificent director, he directed Bullet. Speaking of Steve McQueen.
Yes, another one I saw.
And I think he directed Bullet like right before this. Like he did Bullet, then he's like, I'm going to do Krull. Like it was, I'd have to confirm that, but it feels like that was the case. It's kind of incredible. It's kind of an incredible movie.
The whole movie's incredible, and like the romance in
all
it,
these
the
actors,
action.
the British actors. That's what I was going to say. These British actors who show up, and they're really treating it like it's Shakespeare. It's almost like when a British actor has to go do Doctor Who, and you're wearing a floppy lobster outfit, but you've got this dialogue, and you're like, I'm going to treat this as though it's Shakespeare. I'm going to bring the Royal Shakespeare Company to Doctor Who. And you end up with these kind of crazy, fun performances of people playing aliens. And I don't know.
I mean, for me, if anyone hasn't seen Krull and you love science fiction fantasy, you should watch it. It's a good one. Okay, what's next, Dad?
Next up on my little Kiki delivery service notepad.
Yeah, I use some of my stationery.
All That Jazz from 1979 with Bob Fosse. Wow.
This is another one. You and I watched this together because
I'd forgotten we watched it. I mean, I knew that we had watched it, but I forgot that it was this year.
We watched it. So part one is up now on Craig and Friends, because I went on and I talked with Eric Clapp about All That Jazz, along with Craig. Part two isn't out yet, but man, we watched that. I had to watch it, and I was living down in the South Bay, and I had no Wi-Fi, and I had like a day left to watch it because I put it off because I was like trying to see in the perfect situation, and I had a VHS tape, and I had my little Brooksonic TV. So Dad and I put it on the floor, and we watched All That Jazz on it, and we like wept as we watched it.
That movie holds up on that little tiny TV on VHS many, many years later. And this is a highly visual movie. I mean, this is the director of Cabaret and Star 80. And, it's a highly, highly visual auteur film, and it deserves a big screen, or at least a
larger
a big TV or something. It deserves something, but it actually doesn't need it because the ideas translate even on that little tiny screen.
And honestly, I love the movie. Dad and I had so much fun watching it. I won't go too far into it because I've obviously discussed it. And I think we even talked about it a little bit on Video Archives.
I think we have.
I think that made it into one of the after shows. Yeah. But just like the moments I love, like it's such an amazing story. And then Dad and I were joking. It's like the producer character.
Yeah, it's you.
It's literally
You're the producer character.
It's literally... Because the best part is like,
when will it be done? When will the edit be done? He's like me.
But then
I am literally the Roy Scheider character.
The best part though is when he's like, okay, you were right. The producer's like, yeah, you were right. It needed more time. It needed what you needed to do.
He's exasperated. He's like, oh, you were right. Oh,
that's God. The best part of it.
Yeah, because of course you were right. It is better.
And then just the end of the movie, the bye-bye love, bye-bye happiness.
That I don't even need to hear the song. If the song comes into my head and I start doing bye-bye love, bye-bye sweet caress, I'll start crying.
Well,
I'll start thinking about the scene and the meaning of it. And for people who don't know, Bob Fosse, while directing and choreographing the play Chicago, had a heart attack and for a moment I think was like dead. And basically came back, and the producers of the show were sort of like, hey, they kind of figured out, if he dies, the insurance will kick in and we'll make more money than if he lives and we're successful. And then, of course, he lived, came back, Chicago, finishes the play, plays a hit, ends up making All That Jazz about that experience. And so it's a highly autobiographical film. He's basically making a movie about himself where Roy Scheider is playing him. And it's just one of the most magnificent filmmakers making a film about them, autobiographical film director movies that there is.
For me, though, it's also like we went through kind of like a weird, difficult time like a few months ago where we really all were just really, really grateful for life
Yeah.
and choosing life
Yeah.
and choosing love. And when I look at the lyrics for that, and it's like, bye bye love, bye bye life, hello loneliness. And it's like, what are you when you choose to die, you are giving up the best things in life. And so it's just, for me, it is such a positive, hopeful film in that way, because it really is, at the end, it's like, okay, you think you're going to die, but like, who's there and who's really going to miss you? It's like your daughter, your ex-wife. It's like all these people that just like love you so much and have helped you put on the play of your life.
Mm-hmm.
They're in the audience and they're there to see you. So for me, it was a super special movie. The fact that it stays whole on that little tiny screen, it survives, it endures no matter what format you watch it on, just proves it to me that it is one of my favorite movies that I saw this year.
And one of my favorite movies of all time, I think.
How many more do we have left in there?
I think there might just be one.
Oh my God, is there just one left?
And I'm just going to say there's no cookie at the bottom.
Sorry, Dad. Next time. If you had told me in advance you wanted a cookie.
And what kind of cookie would it be is the question.
Double chunk chocolate cookie. I had to say it, Dad.
Oh, wow. Chariots of the Gods by Eric Danigan?
I think that's who wrote the book.
Yeah, he wrote the book, Chariots of the Gods, 1970. Directed by Harold Renzi?
I think that's what it says here. Let me look.
That's what it says.
Yeah, Harold Renzi. Harald
Harald.
Renzi. I saw this.
See, Gregoire should think about that.
Gregoire Jardin.
Gregoire Jardin.
Sorry, Greg.
And that he should think about Harald.
Renzi.
Harald Renzi.
So I saw this movie. A friend of mine, Jack, bought a 16 millimeter print of it. And
Jacques.
No, just Jack. Jack bought a 16 millimeter print of it, and we screened it at Film Power. It was just like a really chill night of just like a couple people came to see it, and it was paired with like a lot of other like movies of alien documentary, etc. And it was just an amazing print. Like, it was basically a pristine print. And so getting to see it on a pristine 16 millimeter print and just the beautifulness of the film and the tribes and the artifacts, etc. It reminded me of Praveen Mohan, to be honest, our man Praveen.
Yeah, who's maybe the most important cultural anthropologist of the moment.
Yeah, who is being thwarted by YouTube.
Yeah, well, not just YouTube, but the anthropology, archaeology community, I guess.
Yeah, but
he's actually like this guy Praveen Mohan on YouTube. He goes out there and he's hitting up all of these temples throughout
the world. He does South
Asia
America,
Minor.
yeah. He does South America though every now and then.
Does he?
I think he does.
Well, he's going to these places and like observing, taking a close look at everything, and it's really interesting. And his background is he's got a great background, and it's just he's super entertaining. And I think Praveen Mohan is one of the best people to watch now on YouTube.
I agree. And back before we had YouTube,
hi guys. Like, I love his hi guys. I love his hair.
Yeah.
During COVID, because he stopped getting haircuts, his hair got really crazy. Because he's got crazy big hair. I love his hair.
But before we had YouTube, we had things like Chariot of the Gods to kind of show you exactly what was out there and like what you could see. And I don't know. I don't really even know if I have much to say about it. You kind of have to watch the movie to like understand what it is. It's kind of a documentary, but it's also kind of not a documentary.
Eric Donican, the guy who wrote the book, he basically, like you said, was the Praveen Mohan of his time, and he went all around South America and just started saying, "Hey, doesn't this look like this? And don't these two things look the same to you? And isn't it kind of weird that this thing in Egypt looks just exactly like this thing in Mesoamerica? And isn't that kind of odd? And hey, isn't it kind of weird that looks like an airplane? Like, why does that look like an airplane? The museum will tell you it looks like a bird." No, that kind of looks like an airplane. And hey, isn't that strange that carving, that relief looks like an astronaut and in a spaceship, and so he's kind of just bringing all this stuff up and then going out and, interviewing the various indigenous peoples of the area and looking at their myths and traditions and kind of reading between the lines on all of that, he was way ahead of his time.
It's also just the scale of the movie. It's just, you get to see so much. And you think now that we have like the internet that you get to see everything, but you really don't.
You might not appreciate the work that he was doing back then. But when I was a kid, we drove with my mother and father, we drove in a pickup truck all through South America, down through Nicaragua and El Salvador and, all the way down. And, none of this stuff had just been discovered like in the 60s before and was still overgrown. And so we would drive on these dirt roads through the jungle, like with howler monkeys and stuff, and emerge in, I don't know, Palenque. And it had just been discovered and there's no one there but like a camp of archaeologists and doing
and
their
hippies.
There were a bunch of hippies there, like people living in tents and out of the backs of their cars at these places that had literally just maybe a decade before, 2 decades before, had been kind of uncovered from jungle. And those were times when you could at night, as a boy, I would play on them. We would climb up and down, these pyramids, and play at nighttime and go through them. There was no one else there, and you go there now, and there's a Walmart.
Yeah, and
so to know what Donican was doing. I think I'm getting his name right, Eric Donican. To know what he was doing and the observations he was making in that time period in the late 60s and early 70s. Like, it was really cutting edge work.
Well, it was groundbreaking.
Yeah.
I think that's one way to put it. And then just the scale of the movie. It's a magnificent movie, documentary. I don't know how to call it because it's kind of both.
Chariots of the Gods.
It's Chariots of the Gods. Yeah. So
aliens are there.
The aliens are there.
It's a super highway, man.
I think everyone can tell like what my favorite genre of the year was. It's clearly science fact.
That's science fact.
So I think that wraps up my 2024. Thanks guys for watching, and you get to see us on video. So I'm Gala Avery and I'm signing out, and I'll also say goodbye to.
And it's me, Roger. And it's just like this has just been a nice little experiment on this, and we'll get the lighting down and we'll
get it all down. But I think
it was just
something
crank one out.
We've been looking for something to test video on. And we finally found something that was very low stakes to do it with. So I'm just really glad. And thanks everyone for kind of supporting us and bearing with me as I'm learning editing, etc. You guys have always really helped me. A lot of you guys know that before I did video archives, I did 0 audio work whatsoever. And so through my Gala show, I've learned all about my audio work. And I have a lot of friends out there that have been very, very helpful to me. I appreciate you all. And I think 2024 was a pretty good year.
I think it was a pretty good year too, and I think 2025 is going to be an even better year, and I'm really hopeful for movies, and even movies that are getting made now. I think that there's a kind of there's a lot of exciting movies out there I haven't seen that I'm really interested in seeing, and a lot that I know that is coming down the pipeline. I don't know. I think that things are looking good.
I agree. Okay, so one last time, I'm Gala Avery signing out for the very last time in 2024, I think, unless I have an episode on Thursday. No, actually, this is my last time signing out because Thursday it will be 2025. So thanks, everyone.
Bye, everybody.
Bye. The Gala Show is brought to you by Avery.com. This episode was executive produced by Roger Avery and produced by Gala Avery. Music composed by Andy Milburn. As always, I'm your host, Gala Avery. Copyright 2024, all rights reserved. Despite me sharing the same last name with this charity, I don't have any affiliation with it, besides the fact the issue is very near and dear to my heart. Did you know that in the United States, 2.7 million children currently have a parent in prison, and it's estimated that 10 million children have experienced parental incarceration at some point in their lives. I was one of these kids, and as an adult, I am really grateful to be able to give back to Project Avery. Their mission is to build leadership from within by supporting community through programs such as mentoring and outdoor education, and also to remove the stigma surrounding having a parent that's incarcerated. You don't have to feel alone. If you know a kid who could use these resources or would like to donate money or time to the charity, please go to Project Avery, that's AVARY.org, to check out what this amazing charity is all about. Again, that's projectavery.org. Thank you guys from the bottom of my heart.